Right, hello everyone, welcome back to Debate 5, the final debate of today, the final debate of this year. So please come and take a seat, bring your teas and coffees and cakes with you, sit yourself down and we'll start this final debate. And welcome back to our online viewers as well. The business case for 5G standalone. This is our last session. We've kept the best till last, obviously. I'm pausing slightly because we have a rambunctious, is that a word?
Rowdy.
A rowdy. We have a rowdy audience, which is great. I'd rather have a rowdy audience than a silent audience. So thanks very much for staying with us. This final debate looks at the business case for 5G standalone. We know that the narrative for the telecoms ecosystem has for a long time been that 5G standalone is a necessary bridge to what comes next, to 6G. Yet others claim it's, too late, too complex, too expensive. There's lots of arguments against. So should operators continue to invest in 5G standalone, or even start to invest in 5G standalone, to extend connectivity and support more services, thereby leaving 6G to be more focused perhaps on efficiency gains? Or is it time to change the narrative and place big bets on a clean slate approach to 6G? So there's a lot to talk about, and to help us decide, we are joined again by a panel of experts who are going to be delivering their expert witness statements. Then we'll have a motion, then we'll have a debate. So if I could first of all ask our first guest, Itsuma Tanaka, who is President and CEO of Docomo Communications Laboratories Europe, to deliver our opening expert witness statement.
Good afternoon, London, and please take a good look at me, because after this, vendors, operators might consider inviting me here again. Okay. So let's start with the fact. I believe the business case for 5G SA exists already. We have connected cars, government-funded projects to build resilient, more connected societies, and they pay for efficient, reliable, and predictable network already. And according to 3GPP specifications, if you want to use AI fully in your network, you need 5G SA. But the real problem, let me talk about the real problem from here. The real problem about this ROI question is about scale. Okay, look around the world again. SA nationwide deployment is still rare. And not because SA doesn't have a business case, but because too many operators treat cloud native just like a shopping list. Give me cloud native 5G, check. And they learn afterwards it demands entirely new life cycle and different skill sets. And I have witnessed operators spend millions, hand over everything to the vendors, and end up living with really complex, really costly system, which they cannot even evolve without writing another check. So they are locked in from maintenance, from support, and dependency. So let me provoke here. When you hear 5G SA, the prerequisite is 6G. Listen whose voice that is. It's usually those who already built SA, those who aim to draw operators into this lock-in business model. Okay? Because nobody wants to admit sunk cost. But capability for the future is really clear. The recent geopolitical developments, the industry demands clearly require resiliency, AI, energy efficiency, and SA is the minimum ticket for this, but 6G will should raise the bar for this. Okay? And those who already done SA, listen to me, you have done great work already. all the lessons, the painful lessons around the automation, observability, AI ops, that already gives you competitive edge. But for the future, because many of them are still on 4G NSA, let's try to find the new G generational pressure point where cloud native economics and operator capability finally click. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Itsuma. Thank you. Lovely. Great, and can we have our next expert witness, please? Anita Döhler. Anita is, of course, CEO of the NGMN Alliance.
So representing NGMN here, operator-driven alliance, of course I will not speak about specific business cases. I'm also not formally allowed to disclose the motion yet, but I can tell you that my case is supporting the no. And I also believe I also believe that actually this motion can be answered with a yes and with a no with almost the same arguments. Because I think what we need to have in mind is that everything we do in our industry intends to deliver value to our customers, so consumers and businesses. And value in the future was always difficult to predict, so what does value mean to our customers? And we believe that, so in NGMN, we believe that it's probably even more difficult to predict today because of the dynamics we have. We have software-driven networks, we have all different kind of new use cases maybe appearing, which maybe can be delivered with 5G standalone, but we don't know yet. So there will be probably additional requirements for the uplink. We see a change in the traffic patterns coming from agentic AI conversations. So therefore, the main sentiment is that the networks need to be open, modular, network operations need to be simplified clearly, and therefore, of course, 5G standalone is paving the way for the future. And it paves the way through the setting the ground for cloud-native networks, so fully interoperable cloud-native networks, which again are important to be able to fully automate networks, and also for embracing native AI networks. And some of those features, 5G standalone most likely will not be able to deliver. So we will need also to continue, of course, after 5G SA, what we do already, of course, in the industry and with the first studies on 6G items in 3GPP. Therefore, so we need to move forward, and we also need to learn. So Itsuna already mentioned also that it demands the change of processes at network operators. It demands a complete new culture to operate networks, and we need to move forward because we need to learn. We need to experiment much more. So the culture of being quite conservative, which is understandable in our industry because we have a high responsibility for resilient networks, needs to be also changed. And for this, we need to learn. So therefore, my sentiment for the motion is the no, and I'm sure that we will get explained the motion later in more detail.
Anita, thank you. Thank you. I can't wait to find out what the motion is.
I'm looking forward.
Anita, I can't believe you've already given it away. Oh my God!
Can we get a drink now?
Thanks, Anita. Can we get our next expert witness, please? Thierry van der Velde, who is Global Core Networks Pre-Sales Leader, Cloud and Network Services at Nokia.
Thanks. So 5G is an enormous success. In fact, during my speech, 3,500 5G subscribers will be added. We are adding this year 600 million subscribers. We are going to reach 2.9 billion subscribers on 5G, 8 billion by 2029. It's an amazing success. It's probably the most successful technology, although I will sound like Trump now. But who of you... So who of you remembers the triangle of 5G standalone when we started 10 years ago? Evolved mobile broadband, massive machine type communications, and ultra reliable low latency communications. Exactly. We have delivered 1/3, my friends. Yeah? Only the enhanced mobile broadband. Yes, 5G standalone is slightly better in the uplink than 5G non-standalone. So we have so much work to do, not just in 5G, but also in 6G. Thanks to your great ecosystem of partners, we have been able to learn so much while deploying these 5G core networks. We have learned about containers, about CI/CD. We still have problems to fix. We have learned what a chiplet is, okay, at Nokia. We have learned to discern, I would say, the better Kubernetes distributions from the less evident ones. We have learned to work in full vertical stack for tier 2, tier 3 operators, and then in the horizontal mode where multiple CNFs of multiple vendors can coexist in the same network. So we have learned so much. 5G SA has tremendous difficulties today due to the standards, due to the way the standards were designed. For example, the release 16, release 17 value-added services of 5G SA stop at the edge of the 5G coverage. There is no interworking specified to 4G. In this room, we will probably see less than 5G SA users, although all your telephones are capable of 5G SA, I'm sure. Because international roaming is a headache and is an absolute pain to set up with 5G standalone. And it works like a charm in NSA mode, in non-standalone mode. So how can we promise these consistent services in that triangle if we're not able to realize an experience that will cross the borders? We have a lot to fix. In about 6G, there is tremendous potential in 6G. We will have an AI-driven physical layer that will allow us to extend the coverage to provide tremendous throughput increases in 6G and in 5G Advanced also by using AI to interpret the eye diagram that we all remember from our time at uni. So let's march jointly towards a NEG containerized network that will satisfy the needs of 5G SA, NSA, and 6G users.
Thierry, thank you very much indeed. Round of applause for Thierry. Sure, we'll pick up on some of those comments during our debate. And please, can we get our final expert witness of the year, Beth Cohen. Beth is returning to the stage, telco industry analyst at Luth Computer. Beth.
Yes, so 5G SA is critical to the telecom industry. So the telecom industry has benefited greatly. And what's ironic about 5G in general is that it's been a tremendous success in terms of solving the last mile problem, cutting costs, delivering more efficient networks, higher bandwidth. But ironically, the average user, look at their cell phone, they have no idea. They don't care that it's running on 5G, 4G, 6G. They just want to make sure that their, Korean soap operas are running so they can see them on the subway on the way into work. However, 6G is still kind of a pipe dream. Let's be honest here. So I think that 5G needs to really become more robust and add network slicing, which we've been working on for I don't know how many years, and we still don't have a standard. So we need to be more robust about 5G infrastructure that we've, the telecoms have invested literally billions of dollars into. I should point out the telecoms tend to be kind of conservative about their investments. They want to get maximum value out of their investments. And so, those billions of dollars have not yet paid off, let's say. And so I think it makes sense for the tech refresh cycle to, get more out of the 5G and then, wait for the 6G, pie in the sky when it comes, if we will, to do that next tech refresh cycle that we need. And I will catch up because everybody else went over and I didn't.
Beth, thank you very much. Oh, yes, it was noted. What a great collection of expert witness statements there. Fantastic. That's given us a lot of food for thought. But before we start discussing what you've had to say, I think it's time for a motion.
Guy, you're absolutely right. So it is. And the motion is the success of 5G standalone will postpone the need for 6G. And the coin toss said,
You can't say that, can you?
I can't say it.
No, try again.
The coin toss said, I am in favour of this and Chris is against. So let me stand up and tell you about why you should be voting for this. Right, so where do I start? Okay, let's start with my favourite subject, which is myself. So my job title, ladies and gentlemen, inside Hutchison is the head of 5G business development. And the more observant amongst you may notice that there is a slight problem with that title, right? So I don't want 6G. I don't want 6G for the next 20 years, okay? I need to keep going in my job. But I'm reminded of a time where I used to live in Hong Kong, and my wife and I moved back to the UK in 1999, and we moved to this small town in Herefordshire. We had a house, and we needed to furnish the house, and we went to an electrical retailer in Herefordshire, and we bought a washing machine, and it wasn't an expensive one. It was like a Candy or something like that. We got this washing machine home, and then about 3 weeks later, it went wrong. So we went back to the retailer and said, "This washing machine's gone wrong." And he said, "Yeah, they're shit, aren't they, those?" And I'm like, when I was listening to Thierry just there, I was like, actually, do you know what? Nokia kind of virtually invented 5G SA, right? And now you're kind of going, well, there's a lot of problems with it. We need to go, forget that. We need to go on to 6G. And it reminded me of this bloke who stopped with the washing machine. I was like, oh my God. So, look. We are only 9% of all mobile customers in the world are connected to a 5G SA network at the moment. Okay, 9%. So 91% of people do not have 5G SA, and we're already talking about throwing it away and going on to 6G. Come on. We've got to recover the return on investment on 5G. Otherwise, this is just ridiculous, right? We cannot progress as an industry unless we get the money back for the investments that we made. And I'm reminded of when Three was making the case to merge with Vodafone. Three CEO Robert Finnegan said, to support the merger, he said, literally, we could have taken all the money that we've invested in 5G, stuck it in a bank account, and we'd have more money than we would having invested it all in 5G. So we've got to let this run. We've got to let it run. There's a lot of capabilities that come with 5G SA, which I think consumers and businesses want. Network slicing at the enterprise level is really interesting. It's a lot cheaper and more capable than private networks. And then at the consumer level, you've got fixed wireless access where you can guarantee throughput, and we've got gaming services and even social media services that could use that. So I think the customers want some of the capabilities of 5G SA. I think the industry wants a payback. So that's why you should vote for the motion. Thank you very much.
Well, I think Varley showed what he thought of that while turning on his back. Now, of course, there's a perfect solution to your problem, Graham, which is titular inflation, which you've never been shy of in the 40 years I've known you. Just change your business cards, right? You don't even have business cards, right? It's a software issue. And I think the view of 6G is that, and when I used to draw 5G diagrams, when I used to use diagrams, I always put 5G. I'd put IoT in there. I put Wi-Fi in there. I put fixed networks in there. And I think the fact of the matter is that that 5G has, as we've said, we're sort of disillusioned with 5G. We don't necessarily need a technology refresh, but we do need a refresh in terms of the positioning of all of the elements. A lot of the discussion we've had today has been about how the relationship, not why are we still talking about fixed and mobile separately. We must get more towards the solution view of the world. And as we think about the things that we will have to connect and support in the future, the uplink has been mentioned several times, and quite a few people have mentioned smart glasses. These Meta Ray-Bans, if you're living in the US, I could use it for a live analysis of what's been done in the audience in front of me doesn't work here yet. So I could actually work out whether Guy was lying when he said it was in favour of the Greens in the second debate. But that requires a major improvement in the uplink. It requires, obviously, connectivity through to whatever GPU has been processing in the background. If we're going to deliver, and in fact Nokia, the Capital Markets Day recently talked about not even the response times we talk about generally within 5G, but even sub-millisecond response times, if we're going to get that automation, that factory automation, the sort of things that Graham's ports need to deliver to make sure the containers are analysed and everything, especially video. And if we think about the markets that we've struggled to address, and not only is it 10 years from 5G, it's also 10 years since the CEO of Ericsson talked about 50 billion connected devices in the IoT world. I think the latest figures are we're at 9 for that figure. So we do need a refresh. We need to rethink. We need to have a framework within which all of the connectivity, not just the cellular, but we bring Wi-Fi into that discussion. We bring the fixed into the discussion. Because if we don't do that, we're going to miss out on those opportunities. And of course, the beauty of this, as we go through the automation sequences that we talked about in the last debate, as we move that way, we do not need physical changes in the infrastructure. It's a software-led development. So actually moving towards the 6G, and we know from historical that every other G actually delivers a lot better value. So for goodness sake, let's forget 5G. I don't care about it, as you said. Let's look at a framework that actually puts all of the connectivity that we need for the future into the right structure, that works with each other, that gives us a chance as an industry to support all of those demands that we know are there, and we can address it in a way that delivers commercial response, but also gives that technical support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So there you go. Two strong arguments for and against there. I can't believe you're calling my vote calling into question. You do know I'm colourblind, don't you?
I said that earlier.
Did I tell you that?
I raised that earlier.
Okay, very good. Great. Thanks very much, Chris and Graham. Let's chat about this now, and we'll go to the room first for any questions. Is there anyone who hasn't asked a question yet today who would like to ask a question? Because now's your chance. Anyone at the back of the room there?
Only if they're using 5G SA, they can.
Yeah, that limits us a little bit, doesn't it? Any questions, anyone? Over here. Let's get these two over here. Either.
So, my name's Dean.
No one's volunteering another question, so we're going to have to go to some repeats, I'm afraid. Dean.
My name's Dean, and I'm a slice denier. But I'm also one of the founders of the 6G Reset initiative. And one of the parts of that question that was phrased, the motion, was about the need for 6G and whether 5G standalone obviates that. So I'd quite be interested in the panel's view on what they see as the needs for 6G, because I think that hasn't been articulated very well, and that actually the sort of magic hexagon needs some serious editing that ITU put out, because that's a government document, not actually about users and customers. If we assert that the 6G has a bunch of problems that it needs to solve, some of them are to do with better coverage, whether that is via satellite in remote areas or via network sharing, and if we're indoor, there's lower power, there's a bunch of things to do with inclusivity, there's stuff to do with security, maybe post-quantum. I would say that an awful lot of the needs for 6G are completely orthogonal to whether we have 5G standalone or not.
Right. Great. We're going to go into more detail on 5G SA en route to 6G, but let's jump straight into this point now. What is the need for 6G? What is it addressing? Why? Thierry.
Dean, you and I remember the eye diagram in our studies, right? I mean, this 256 QAM, okay, the way we are communicating, you're sending me 8 bits in one symbol, okay? But you're not doing that when you are going to the cell edge today. Because I will have a blurred reception here. I will no longer be able to distinguish the 8 bits. I will probably fall back to 64 QAM if you go to the cell edge today with 5G. With 6G, we are putting AI in the RAN to distinguish your 8 bits despite you sending me a weak signal from the edge. So we believe a lot, and it will happen in 5G advanced already for the uplink, because we will deploy AI technology in our base stations. In 6G, I hope that you, in your smartphone, will have the AI receiver to be able to distinguish more dots on the eye diagram in the complex plane. Is that a good hint? So you will be able to reduce your power to me, right? To a point where I can barely distinguish the 8 bits in the eye diagram. You will be saving probably 2 hours of battery time per day with 6G.
So in other words, we care about the radio, not the core.
That's right. That's right. That's very rightly said.
But does the customer care?
Well, if
I don't think they do.
Better battery life. Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah. And Anita, do you want to come in this one?
Yeah, I would like maybe to, first of all, Dean, you answered your question partly by yourself because coverage and those type of topics are important. I would like to maybe decouple it a bit from the term 6G because I think what we are discussing is whether we need or whether there will be innovation in future. And then the second question is how we frame this innovation through 3GPP releases, maybe open source, software-driven components of innovation. So therefore, I personally, and no matter that I'm also representing an NGMN here, but I personally believe that innovation will be always there. And the question is how we as an industry can prepare ourselves to be ready for innovation which we maybe cannot even foresee at the moment in 25 for 2030 and beyond. And this is why it's so important that when we go forward, that we think about how we can even better design the network so that they can be ready for AI native, but maybe also still need to define in more detail what it means. And all the other challenges we have in front of us. We can imagine some of the use cases they have been discussed today already, like additional uplink requirements or requirements when it comes to traffic, not only volume but also traffic patterns from agentic AI and the like. But I think the main sentiment is really, and that's what we are also mandating from an operator perspective in NGMN, is that we need to achieve flexible networks. And then, of course, network operations need to be simplified. And this is, I think, the hygiene factor we need to tackle also as an industry.
Great. And
jump in as well?
Thanks, Itsuma.
Thank you. Just adding another angle. One of the reasons why we think we need 6G is, well, this is about another uncomfortable fact, but there are lots of new features around 5G that are still not deployed by the operators. And why? It's not just about the business case, but technically many of them are backward incompatible. So we need some good excuse to introduce opportunity to unleash the full potential of what is in the standards and technology so that those requirements like energy efficiency, AI native can be fully deployed.
Thank you, Itsuma.
Yeah.
Beth?
So in the US, we successfully turned off 3G. It was kind of brutal. I will have to say my Luddite relatives got sent little tiny flip phones from Verizon for free to get them off 3G. And that was so that the company could, that the industry could start using the 5G capabilities and features because they, got rid of all the 3G devices. So I still, 6G to me is still so amorphous that I am struggling. I mean, the companies are still trying to figure out beyond FWA and private 5G what to do with 6G. I mean, we're not even finished going through all the great things that we can bring to 5G. So why should we just jump into something even more amorphous that hasn't come yet?
Yeah, thanks, Beth. And Thierry, you want to jump up on that as well?
I wanted to say part of the response on the core, right, Dean? Because you said my answer was about radio, but in core, what should we do different in 6G from 5G? If you look at the 5G standards today, they have been defined in a perfect standard silo, in a single system silo. So we have the EPS standards today, and we have the 5GS. And the networking is very badly specified. We have this for the connoisseurs, right? N26, UDCOM, protocols that were in fact never deployed. Why? Because we, the vendors, we took those two specs together and we created a dual system product. Everyone deployed these dual system products with proprietary interworkings inside that CNF, right? And that has to change for 6G. We have to create a 6G core that will, from day one, speak 5G access stratum and 6G access into the same standard, well-defined core network function. We can no longer live with these proprietary implementations where it's not possible, for example, today, right, to complement your 4G core vendor with a new, fresh 5G core vendor. In 6G, we want to give you the ability to complement your 5G core vendor with a new, fresh dual system core vendor, so that your 6G subscribers can go to a multi-access core from day one. That's totally independent from your 5G standalone core. Go ahead.
Thierry, that's great. Hold that thought, Neil. We'll come to you in a sec, because Mark's been waiting there patiently. So we'll get Mark in and we'll come back to that. But just to remind everyone in the room, when we're talking 6G, I mean, we are like, what, 4 and a bit years away from estimated freeze of that, which is what, 16, 17 quarterly meetings to go, where there is an awful lot of discussion and compromise still to go. So we've got a long way to go. Mark.
I suppose this is where my question comes in, because we could have rebranded 5G NSA as just an evolution of the 4G air interface, and it would have been a rip-roaring success then, up until now. If we'd kept the 5G moniker away for a little bit, and now at this point, when we start introducing the core, the standalone core. I mean, it was only called standalone core because we decided, 2018, 2019, that we would split it up so we could get 5G in early. So in reality, we haven't actually really deployed the 5G experience end to end yet.
No.
And so my question then is, if we ditch the 5G core element of it, is that then putting a higher burden on the 6G core, or whatever that's going to look like, to solve those problems? Surely 5G standalone, as we call it now, should be the path to that innovation that's going to come in that 6G era, the 2030 onwards, and should be software driven, and not necessarily should be a complete hardware rip out again. So it seems to me that perhaps there should be what is that path? Is the motion somewhat arbitrary, because actually the path to that should be via
that path you mentioned there is certainly requested by a good number of stakeholders. Equally, there are those who don't. Anyone want to feel that
okay.
question?
I would like to take lift, one important innovation out of 5G standalone, that we have indeed not realized. I happened to have contributed to the standards in a domain called Ethernet PDU type, layer 2 over 5G. The military love it, right? Because they can keep their military-grade routers. We don't need to ask them for IP address space. We can complement their Wi-Fi networks with 5G today. Not deployed. Not deployed because we have not got an eye open on our main competitor, Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is a layer 2 network. Ethernet is a layer 2 network. When we go to a Volkswagen factory and they have connected robots there, Beth, they want us to stretch that Wi-Fi network with 5G base stations. They don't want us to provide an IP service there. They want us to provide a Metro Ethernet forum service over 5G. Of course, we have to provide that in that combined core, dealing with 5G and 6G access. Of course, it will be a new chance to provide this 5G LAN service to both 5G and improved 6G air interface users. Yes, we have to continue trying to show the market the added value of 5G standalone.
Well, all of you. Anita first.
Just maybe to go back to the comment of Mark that we introduced 5G non-standalone first as an industry. I would like to add that a lot of options came with regards to migrations to standalone from non-standalone, what made it extremely complex. And one of the requirements we put out already last year is that we want it to be backwards compatible, and most important also that there should be really no such complexity which we had with migrating from 5G non-standalone to standalone when it comes to the future generation of networks. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks very much, Anita. And that letter's on your website, isn't it, to the 3GPP? Itsuma?
Thank you. Rebranding. To me, 5G SA the concept was built 10 years ago. And now, today, it's a different world. And towards 6G, it's going to be even more different world because all the change around AI, the speed is incredible. So I don't think keep staying with the paradigm 10 years ago doesn't make sense today. And from my R&D perspective, especially, we definitely need something better, something will take all the lessons from the past operating 5G SA, and also consider leapfrogging for those 4G NSA camp towards the better 6G. That's something we definitely need to work on, especially in 3GPP.
Thanks, Itsuma. And Beth?
So I want to address a much more practical perspective on this. If we're talking about deploying 6G in the 2030 timeframe, that will be enough time that the radios will need a hardware refresh at that point anyhow. And so it seems to make much more logical sense to just kind of, get all the, the capital expense, paid out, so that.
I'm not sure that Ian is doing right now in 4.5 years' time.
Right, but other companies have invested, 4 and 5 years ago, so that's like a 10-year cycle, so that's kind of closer to, Well, a typical refresh cycle is 7 to 10 or 15 years, so that's just finance. So you do have to take that into consideration when thinking about what kind of when you're gonna deploy the network. I mean, let's be honest, 5G was put in for the benefit of the telcos because it saved them a ton of money. And it solved the last mile problem. It wasn't because the consumers were rushing out to get new fancy phones. They weren't.
Thank you, Beth. We could develop that argument, but I want to maybe come across to Neil, who's also been waiting patiently to come in on something earlier.
I think we have industry amnesia. Why is 5G SA not start? Well, because someone decided they were going to define the architecture for how we run 5G. And they decided, hey, we're going to do it on virtualization. There was one massive problem with that. No one could make it work. So then there's a panic. Oh, wait a minute, this 5G core thing is going to slow us down because we've defined this. We've not just defined the standard, we've defined how you must build it, right? First time ever in a standards forum where they stepped beyond just what the standard needed to achieve. So we have a panic. Oh my God, we need to roll out 5G because everyone, this is what's going on. Verizon didn't help because they wanted to do this other wacky thing that basically nearly killed Nokia, I think.
Yep.
So what's the lesson from that, right? The lesson is if you, and I see the same mistakes happening with all the AI stuff that's being defined as part of the solution. If I use AI or something else to deliver something, why should anyone care at the end of the day? So we've just spent the whole last 10 years ripping CPUs out of radios. Now we're going to stick GPUs back into them to make them work. That feels super challenging to me. It feels cost prohibitive, and certainly the benefits that we're going to be able to monetize from that feels incredibly challenging. I mean, and so I wrote the business case at BT for 5G, and our CEO stood up at MWC and said the case was awful. It was an awful case. It was terrible, because the only thing the case based upon was, oh, if we don't do it and someone else does, we might lose customers. What an awful way to think about it. But that was the killer app, was to keep customers. So what's different about 6G or 5G SA? So 5G SA, I think there is opportunity in that, but it's not in our traditional marketplace. It's going in, it's the part, what I just said earlier on, it's about leveraging the capabilities to go into business, to go into things like smart cities and all these kind of more, I'm trying to think of a word, but industrial solutions, right? But that again requires a different engagement with customers and a different engagement with how you deploy it. It's not just sticking, radios on the top of big masts and hoping that everything works. And if we don't learn that lesson, if we make it too complex, I think the complexity argument is very well said. We'll just find ourselves thinking, well, why didn't we learn from the last time? And that to me is super scary, especially when I see Wi-Fi like literally selling like hotcakes right now. There's never been a more competitive, aggressive Wi-Fi deployment and also internal networks, and actually driven because people realize they need it for AI solutions. So how do we ensure that we don't come up with a solution that's driven by almost a fantasy of reality as opposed to actually what can we deliver realistically? How can we make money out of it so that we can afford the next investment? Because right now, Anita's members are saying, we can't afford the next investment, so please make it really cheap. That's ultimately what her letter says, right? Because why? The business case was awful. Someone said we needed 5G for capacity. Hell no, we did not. I did the maths on it. 4G would have bought us at least 3 more years if we just kept running it. The only driver for 5G was volume of devices, because the 4G core could not cope with the signaling, and that was proven time and time and time again. So, we need to do a much better job of leading the industry, and it starts with the standards. Please don't define the solution for us, because if you do that, one, it's really hard to generate competition, and two, you're assuming that the capabilities of all telcos across the world are the same, when we know for sure that isn't the case.
There were so many extra questions that can come out of this, that there really are. But let's address what we can at the moment. Thierry, did you want to come in here?
Well, yes, in the core first, right? Because that's my specialty. Okay, so you have now 2 schools of thought, Neil, and we are in one camp, and there is another one. We are in the camp where standards should indeed refrain strictly from imposing any implementation format, whether it will be CNF 1.0 without operators, CNF 2.0, CNFs dipping into GPUs, CNFs running on ARM. It should absolutely not be in the 3GPP standard. Now, machine learning is not the same as GPU, right? We have deployed 10 use cases of machine learning, for example, smart paging, predictive, rebalancing the load in our core networks. We're doing that on x86 without any GPU, and we're doing that NEG. So 3GPP should indeed refrain from, in the standards, specifying agents inside the 3GPP core network functions. Agentic AI, you know what I'm talking about. If those agents start to talk to each other in a core network, it will destroy the compatibility between an AMF from Nokia and a SMF from another vendor, because we will no longer understand their language to us, right? It will destroy roaming as well. It will destroy the agreements between MVNOs, such as Sky UK in this country, with VMO2 as hosting MNO. They will no longer understand each other's signaling if we allow that second school of thought to happen in the standards.
Okay, thanks, Thierry. Any more comments on this one? Because, of course, 3GPP will say they're doing nothing. It's just what their stakeholders are telling them to do.
Remember last year I said, if you want to control this, get involved.
Yeah.
That was the message.
Yeah, if you're not in, you've got no say.
That's true for ORAN too. Absolutely.
If operators do not express an opinion on this as a very essential aspect, right? AI agent inside the 3GPP network function or outside as an agent configuring that network function. Of course, if we have an agent configuring outside, I think we can fix our 5G standalone roaming problem. I think we can industrialize the way we're going to configure these 5G standalone roaming agents. I think we can give that task to robots to do. And next year, I hope to be here with much more 5G standalone users, right, in the room as a result of AI. But let's not march into that pollution of the standards, with what today sounds like a fashionable technology.
Thierry, thank you very much indeed. Anyone else want to comment at this point, or we go to another question? You okay? Let's go to another question, because there's one at the back. Let's go straight to the back.
Thanks a lot. My name is Sharif Sodi from Virgin Media O2. We're in architecture. I have a question. If I would like to remind us few data sets. One, last August, the 3GPP TSG has finished their work for release 19 and the study items for release 20. One of the major outcomes, 6G will adopt the same waveform as 5G as one of the outcomes. Minimize the major change. So this is a solid fact. Then AI work is continuing, and whatever work items and study items for 5G Advanced will move to release 20 and 21. And then we move to the core, some changes, and there is a two camps, as you said. The major real was significant learning only was in the devices when we said we start with the modularity of the device and the capability is an add-on, not from what we used to do before. Now my question is, why we don't call this 6G as a retrofit of a 5G system and give it several more years till maybe release 2022, and then we think about a real 6G with a more capability and giving more breadth for this 5G investment. By the way, RAN vendors, my own observation, are to some extent saying that they will try to give a life extension for their BBUs to support this 6G as a basic configuration of what is installed 26 or 27. So again, what is the idea here?
Are you saying we're artificially accelerating the need for 6G?
I don't want to say it, but it seems to me like this.
Hypothetical scenario. We might.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much for that question. Anyone want to address this? Beth?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about that. Yeah, there's a feeling that there was some stuff that wasn't in 5G that basically got pushed into 6G, and so there's a sense that we need these features, so we need to accelerate 6G. But again, it gets back to we haven't realized the investment, the ROI on 5G yet. So why are we rushing into 6G?
I tend to disagree. 5G is tremendously successful. And when I hear in the debate also in the thesis there, there is a blur in this debate happening right now on this stage, right? Between the success of 5G standalone, which is modest, indeed, confined to fixed wireless access and to some low band coverage.
Private networks.
Okay.
Private 5G. Yeah.
Private 5G, yes, it's happening in some segments, but then 5G is tremendously successful. The investments have been very profitable. The 8 bits per second per hertz spectral efficiency is realized today in NSA. All your handsets are benefiting from that. Our customers love us for that spectral efficiency.
Yeah, except the real customers, the end users, don't give a crap.
well, they do, because in Scandinavia, they have been able to switch off Wi-Fi. The youth is switching off Wi-Fi to save battery. They're relying on 5G only. We see that they prefer 5G to Wi-Fi. If you give them the bandwidth, if you give them the throughput, I see youngsters. Before I took the train to come here to London, I was amazed to see the number of people watching these pre-downloaded Netflix movies. They download them on the platform, because they know that on the train it won't be so good. I see people on the plane watching these pre-downloaded movies. They downloaded that probably in 10 seconds, on the platform.
That's because they had the ultra wide.
They want this super high speed from us. They are so satisfied. They love us.
So we have some differences of opinion here, which is what a debate's all about, isn't it? We've got different viewpoints.
But that has.
Itsuma, did you want to come in on this one?
Let's put whether 5G was successful. Okay, put that aside for now. Well, as I said, we're dealing with a new paradigm, new problems around our society, around the world today, right? And look at this as an engineering problem, and there's a new problem, we need to solve it. And if existing 5G SA could solve it, good. If it not, we need something new. So that's how we frame discussion in 3GPP today. The two camps fighting hard each other every day.
Thank you, Itsuma. And Anita, I wonder what the problem is. I mean, what's the driving factor, the driving forces towards 5G SA that you're seeing from your members?
5GSA.
What's the top
Can
priorities?
Can I answer it a bit more
Yeah.
broadly? I mean,
Yeah.
Of course, to evolve the networks with regards to cloud nativeness, with regards to modularity, with regards to AI-assisted operations. But I would like to take it a little bit different. That's why because I think I'm a bit lost with the different feature discussions here. As I think that, 3GPP and NGMN, of course, we are also discussing, and the entire industry is discussing, and do we need to say 6G? So what does 6G mean? So we link it to specific 3GPP releases. And it's important to, of course, when we move forward as an industry, to decide what is part of those releases. And this is where we as NGMN are active, consolidating operator opinions, working with vendors, working with academia. We are providing input to 3GPP. Of course, it's not done by just NGMN providing an input. It also demands, and that's backing up what Neil said last year and today, of course, it demands also the operators and all the different participants of the ecosystem contributing in 3GPP to the next releases. But we are doing this, and so AI for networks, networks for AI, I know it's a bit of a buzzword, but we are really breaking this down to specific requirements, and we are just submitting liaison statements with content on this to 3GPP for the meetings next week. So we have meetings, 3GPP meetings next week. And I think that's the important driver to think about from a value perspective and what is needed to support innovation and the different trends we have in the industry, which we already mentioned, I believe, today, in the next releases. And then, of course, the question is what is really needed to be part of the releases and what comes with software-driven innovation, with open source and other topics. When we look at the development of AI, the question is, can we cope with this as an industry which is really dependent on standards? So which parts need to be standardized and which parts will maybe not be standardized by 3GPP, but will be important also to enable interoperable solutions.
Thanks very much, Anita. That's great. That just reminds me, because the meetings are next week. If anybody wants some end-of-year reading, there's about 1,000 PDFs they can download next week to keep up to date with what's going on there. Thanks very much. There's a question at the back, Andrew.
Thank you. I'm really sorry, because I'm going to go back to the ultimate arbiter of truth and justice in my world, which is my wife, who will say to me, Andrew, why isn't the Wi-Fi working on my phone when I'm on the train? So my point of raising this is, who cares? 6G, 5G, who cares? And what is this problem? What is this AI problem? Well, the only credible answer I've heard about difference of AI use on the network is in the core networks, which I've heard from Dean, saying, yeah, moving traffic around between data centers. What is it that's so important about AI that we really know about today in 2025 that's going to be in existence in 2 or 3 years' time that makes a huge difference to the use of mobile networks that aren't Wi-Fi? I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying I haven't yet heard it.
Okay, Andrew. And if anyone can answer that in context of this, please do. Thanks, Beth.
You're spot on, actually. The average Joe Schmo consumer does not see the value at this point in how it's going to affect their use of their device. I mean, we're talking consumers. Obviously, at the enterprise level, there's a whole lot of use cases that are being developed. I wrote a white paper that was published a couple months ago about edge AI and how the telco is affected by that. But that's all on the industry side. The average consumer doesn't see this at all. And, I don't see that they'll ever see it, because it will just be hidden.
Okay, hang on a second, Andrew, and let's move across, because I'm aware of the time, and I really want to get some more viewpoints in. Anita, did you put your hand up there?
Yeah, I think we need to also to go away a bit from the average consumer, because there will be also a physical AI. There will be different use cases which are not related to the, let's say, a classic average consumer, and that's something we need to recognize.
Still.
narrative device. What industry use cases are there that demand a new solution that can't be met with what we currently have, or that's currently visible?
Right, that's great. That's great. What is that use case? Because this really does address this. Thierry.
Let me take it. Okay, so going back to this promising layer 2 over 5G and 6G. What Volkswagen told us when we wanted to install that private 5G network in their factory in Wolfsburg is they have these robots connected today to a local area network, LAN. And they're using a special technique on that called time-sensitive networking. In fact, every Ethernet frame arrives at a fixed pace in time, okay? We have that very same technology possible on 5G standalone.
Right.
And so we were able to replace these wired connections that they had to these robots in these cages with a private 5G network delivering Ethernet PDU type to those robots. From now on, these robots are receiving one frame every 10 milliseconds. And they didn't want that to be 9, 11, 17,
You're right, but
etc.
that's
As on 4G.
But that's 5G. That's not 6G.
That is 5G.
It's existing. Yeah.
That's 5G.
Absolutely. That's a great use case.
Itsuma?
Use case, like let's say prolonged battery life. Your kids will love it. And better coverage. Integrating all the different accesses and so on. I think that's for 6G.
Right. Yeah. We're going to skip just a few more because we have got literally about 1 minute left to wrap this up in. Unfortunately, Andrew, I'm very sorry about this.
You want another example?
Please.
In consumer, okay, not in industrial. Chromecasting, my kids do it, right? They Chromecast on the Wi-Fi network to the TV, to the telly. I would wish that I would be able to Chromecast my presentation from my phone to that screen over a 5G network. For that, I need to discover it. I need this layer 2 environment to appear. We call that a 5G LAN, right? And who's going to set up, who's going to detect the fact that I want to discover these devices? AI. AI is going to configure these mini environments, which are location-based, right? That are going to allow us to finally do broadcast, multicast in a cellular environment and not just on Wi-Fi, because our competitors have been doing it all the time on Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
We need to compete with them, Neil. We can no longer pass on that. Otherwise, we will not complete the triangle that I was talking about, right? Which is EMBB, URLLC, and massive machine tap communication. This MMTC is exactly about that, about discovering more devices that are around you.
Those governmental documents are the worst things ever for the industry, I'm sure of it. I'm sorry we cannot do another question now because we are literally 30 seconds away from the close. So we've got to end the discussion there. Andy, it was a great question. Thank you very much indeed. I'm sorry we curtailed it a little bit, but we could talk about this for another hour. We've had our discussion. Let's remind ourselves, way back in time, it was only 30 minutes ago, what the motion was. Let's have a reminder. And we'll be really careful here. The success of 5G standalone will postpone the need for 6G. You heard the arguments for and against. So now's the time to vote on the final motion of the year. Green for, red against. Please, raise your paddles now.
I think you'll get it.
Oh, it's tied.
Right, I'm going to need some help here. I'm going to need adjudication here. There's two paddles in the air there, I saw that. Just because of that, I think that's a green. Do you think that's a green? I think that's really close to call, but I think we're having it as a green. So motion carried. Thank you very much. It was more of a dead heat, I've got to say. But
Again?
yeah, it was really close. Don't worry, really close. Thank you very much to our panellists. Thank you to everyone, because we are at the end of the event now, almost at the end of the event. I would like to thank our sponsors again, because it takes a bit to put these events on. So to all our sponsors there, thank you so much indeed. Also to the TelecomTV production crew, the team that's in here, the team that's not with us today, and the people that are not with us today, who have done a great job all year. As always, thank you very much indeed. Thank you to our online audience for watching and participating in the polls. And if you haven't participated in those online motions, then please do so. I shouldn't have looked into that light there, should I? Because all I can see now is a great big white circle in front of my eyes. Thank you to all of you here in London as well, and for getting into the spirit of this debate, because you really make this. Okay, we want to recap our motions if we can, and if Phil's ready with the recap, let's have a look at our recap, because this is a reminder our online viewers what our motions were. Motion 1 was a Graham success, and Graham whooped that one with quite a tight 4 for the telcos must become AI infrastructure players. Second motion was also very tight. That went against. We just didn't believe in the motion there.
No, we didn't do that.
No, it's bad motion. Motion 3 was a bit more of a landslide, I think. Network APIs are fundamental to telco business model success. And motion 4. Against. Network automation is a Trojan horse. No, we didn't believe that one. And we've just had motion 5, and as if by magic, it shows that it was just about succeeded, and we carried that just about. I'm not sure, though. It was quite close. So if you're watching online and you disagree, now's your chance to vote and make a difference. Right, that's almost it. Please join us downstairs in the networking room downstairs. There's all sorts going on there, some hale and hearty networking. You're all welcome to join us. Please follow Sean out. He knows the way by now, and he's also got the money. Don't follow Ray, though, whatever you do. You'll end up in the coffee shop. Now, we'll be back again next year, right here, for another edition of the Great Telco Debate. It's in December again. I do hope you can join us, I really do. And to send you on your way, a reminder of our next event, which is, of course, DSP Leaders World Forum in May in Windsor. So for now, from all the team, thank you very much indeed.